Hello and welcome. Today is that of Crypto Day, Sunday, 15th day of April 2018. My name is Derek. Welcome. Time for a longer video. And I'm showing on the right hand side, at least for the time being. I'll move it over to show just the charts in a little while. But these are the codes in which I have on my watch list, which will be in chronological order. ArtByte, ADA, which I think is Cardano, ADT, AMP, Ardor, ARC, Bitcoin Cash, Blackcoin. Two different Bitcoin ones, the Coinbase and the Bittrex one, because within this video, I can use this for the drawing tools, and I just got to remember within this to not click, remove all drawing tools, even all indicators. I do that not too often by mistake, but other ones: Canadian US dollar cross, cannabis, cloak, crown coin, dash, DGB, the Dow Jones Industrials, DNT, Doge, Dopecoin, the dollar index, EMC2, EMC, Ethereum, classic and Ethereum, Factom, gold, the gold to silver ratio, Komodo, core, library credits, Lomo coin, Lisk, Litecoin against Bitcoin, Litecoin against Ethereum, and Litecoin against the dollar. Monetary unit, Neo, NXS, NXT, OK Cash, Omis Go, PivX, Poly, Potcoin, Power, Qtum, Redcoin, RVR, Siacoin, Silver, Solus, Status Network, Steam, Strat. I gotta put SBD in here, by the way, because I need Steam dollars. I know there's a couple that should be in here. And moving back, yeah, Siacoin, Silver, Solus, Status Network, Steam, Stratus, Sys, THC, Tron, Tether against the US dollar, Vertcoin, gold and silver against the Canadian dollar, XDN, NEM, XLM, which is Lumen, Monero, Ripple, Vergecoin, ZCL, ZEC, Zen, and of course SBC added in. A lot of codes to go over, and I'll go over many of them just really fast. I can sort this by percentage change, which I like to do. So I can see right now that of the bunch, NXT is up about 13%. Lumen's up 10, 9, and on the reverse side, not down too much. As actually Tether, that's of course when Bitcoin's going up. But Zen is 3.95%. And within these codes that are down, oh, library credits. Oh, that'll be the next one. But Zencash, this thing has just mounted up from like 212 to like 448, better than a double in like no time. And I've stated so many times that these things go up faster than they go down. So this thing left the area on February the 18th going down. I'm not going to count this move, but I'll count this one, March 18th. And I'll even just count this low. So yeah, we'll count like say March 13th. So about a month, and then this thing breaks out from like April the 1st. So it's been a half a month, half the time in which it went down, it has went up. But library credits, it's at least band flattening out. It's had resistance established, although you could almost make a case that it established it such came back. It's just correcting, making its higher low. At least it's well above the 18 average of highs, and it's rising now, so it's looking like a trend reversal to me. Now RVR is a new one. I'm actually trying to just eliminate out of the position, something I'm going to stop trading very soon, but I'm not out yet. Although I did get out of it much higher, like a percentage of it, like half of it, so whatever. NXS and RVR was the voxels, which got rebranded. But okay, so those are the list of some of those coins. I'm going to go to technical analysis again soon, but before I do, I'm going to bring my chalkboard up. And let's just go over some simple mathematics. If Bitcoin is $10,000 and there's a code trading at 1,000 Satoshi, then by all means that's worth, or is 10,000 a dollar? 1,000, I'm trying to wonder if my math is correct. Let me just verify it. And it is actually 10 cents. So therefore, it's just to change the numbers accordingly because I want to get to the point within this. If one were to sell an altcoin at the BTC price down to 980 Satoshi, the BTC price on the market would stay at 10,000. It's not going to change the price at all when you Bitcoin. When you are buying and selling alternate coins against these things on the market. But the altcoin would go down to, we'll say, 9.8 cents with the move lower. Because you sold it down, it's worth less Satoshi. The price against the US dollar goes down at that moment. Now, assuming time goes by, Bitcoin's now 8,000. And the market just fell hard down to 400 Satoshi. That would mean it's worth, well, in this case, 3.2 cents. Not 32 cents, but 3.2 cents. That's carrying the one mistake I've made a few times in my life. Many times here and there. Anyway, one buys Bitcoin up to 8,002. They get back in the game because after they ended up selling this, maybe they sold Bitcoin and then they got back in. But this could be even somebody else. So they're buying Bitcoin and they actually move it up $2. Now, technically speaking, the group of everybody doing this collectively is what makes these prices go up and down. So when you say your vote counts, it totally does. But what's going to happen is the altcoin, which was worth 3.2 cents, would be worth 3.2008 cents because its price would not change. But because the value of Bitcoin is higher, that means the value of altcoins at the exact same price goes higher at the same rate. But this person goes onto the exchange and buys a decent amount of them, enough to bring the price up 5% to 420 Satoshi. Clears out all the bids from 400 to 420. And now that price would go from a little over 3.2 cents to a little over 3.3 cents. But the price of Bitcoin remains the same. So looking at Nexus, and any one of the altcoins I look at pretty much do good justice for this. If there were a lot of people who were in need to raise liquidity, we'll say for reasons like taxes, because of what they sold in 2017 for a profit, and they don't have the cash or enough cash on them, then they have to come up with, well, dollars. So they go to their portfolio. They might not have much Bitcoin at all, and maybe they just want to get rid of altcoins. So what one may do is sell the altcoin down. Thus, the price of the altcoin goes lower, but the price of Bitcoin doesn't change. Then they transfer the funds over to, say, Coinbase or something like that, and then they sell the price of Bitcoin for US dollars, and so be it. The price at that point would see an excess not go down against Bitcoin, but go down against the dollar, of course. So a lot of these altcoins going down. Is this a product of many people having to just raise liquidity for whatever reason, with a big primary one, again, being taxes? Maybe. And now that it's April 15th and tax period is coming to pretty much an end for the year, are we going to see a big rise moving forward after this? Well, a lot of the altcoins are showing very productive reversal signals. Some of them already have. And I have stated for quite some time that these markets are, this is a weekly chart, you can see the date time up here, or the time frame, that you have turns, like a two-player game, bulls versus bears, going up versus going down, whatever you want to name it as, Bill versus John, I don't care, green versus red. But when green or the bulls are in charge, that means the markets go up, and for me that brings great selling opportunities. And then of course markets go down. You have to expect that it's going to keep doing such. So when I talk about how the markets should revert and be very bullish coming into the next little while, that means the green turn will have the dice, the bulls will have the dice, and they will until they won't. And we can see that last year at the start of January, the bulls came in, then the bears had few turns, like 5 of them. Then the bulls had 3 fantastic turns in March. And then the bears had a little bit of a run, a decent amount of time, but not too much through price, to June. And then we can see back and forth. But after the bulls had a tremendous turn from August to the end of September last year on this code, the bears came in huge from September through around November. But then the bulls come in for like a few turns. The bears have been in play. Now, of course, I'm going to be looking at this on the daily time frame, where the bears came in from January the 7th through February the 28th. The bulls had a quick turn. The bears came in, as we can see, the declining 18. Now, as we look at the market based on as it's playing through, we've had this declining 18 average. On the first day of April, price action had a green candle move, leaving its status of hugging the 18 average of lows as resistance. Always a bearish setup for that. And we've seen so many of these previous moves in this bear market just ultimately fail after the rally comes in. And this one is showing the opposite. This is showing success so far. So after the rally, several lower volatile days, bringing the price action down to the 18 average of lows, but that was successful support, both on April the 5th and then again on April the 6th. So then what followed through was on the 9th day of April, price action got above the 18 average of highs, making or getting to price action not seen since March 22nd. It followed through by hugging the 18 average of highs as a level of support resistance. The next day, it came back to previous high of a few days before, came back down to the 18 average of highs again. The session thereafter had a decent sized break below, seeing lows not seen in like 5 days. However, when you look at the move from point A, which was the 19,251 lows, and point B, which was this top at around 26,000, it did make that significant low. So now that is a major level of need for holding, but it's been since that point, and this is a bullish candle in itself. 2 days of consolidating, and currently within that closing price. To me, that is a very bullish setup as we're looking at it. Price action breaking above what is now major resistance, because it was hit on now 3 different occasions. Once on March or April the 9th, again on April the 11th, and then a pierce below on April 14th. So getting above that means that we could have these decent sized green candles, reminiscent of the ones from the first few days of March, that should at least come up and test between the 40,000 area and the 47,000 previous high. And that keyword is at least, because getting it above there, you're talking about going even up to about the 95,000 level that it's seen back at the start of the year. Okay, now let's go over these, but let's go over them really quickly, but talk about the reversal of the trend. And I talked about this a little bit in the 4-minute morning, how we can see that this thing is full right now in a bull market, because after you have an update on April 10th and 11th and consolidate like this, this is most certainly a nice looking setup. Lumen, of course, is showing it's just gotten above this level of resistance, really. This to me is where you're like, okay, it's done it. It's got two levels it's got to get above. One, it's above 33.51. Two, it's 34.64. This high here, well, it's at 34.60. It's 20 basis points above that previous high. It's already been a little bit higher, so short term, we look at this on the 15-minute time frame, we can see a very small correction short term. That if you're looking for opportunities for when to get in, when it's very on a bullish situation, but you're not too, like in the early stages, this to me would be it. This is not my trading style. For me, I look to just accumulate and then sell when it goes higher, buy when it goes lower, and that's it. But when this is the case, this to me looks like one of those great times to do so. THC, this has just been magnificent how it came up to this resistance level here. And what did it do thereafter? It pierced well above it as it got to 1180. That's about 200 basis points higher, or 20+%. And then for 2 days, coming back and supporting what was supposed to be resistance. No, it's support. And I've talked about this scenario before, that's the ideal thing you want to look for. If you don't get resistance at this level, thus you get support instead, then you're seeing this by the book. The level of resistance on April the 12th is in at 1185. So getting above the 1200 level, well, now we're going to be starting to talk about testing some previous support marks between 1600 and change up to about, well, we'll even say 2000. Let's move on to the next code, which would be, well, cannabis. I'm going in order by percentage gain in the sort. This one's up about 6.7%, but this one's looking like it's ready to break through this level of resistance after 2 magnificent days higher. Great consolidation for about 4 days. And completing that UV shape pattern that it needs to have, and looking to make new gains. And when these things go, these things can just really go at times. This thing has managed to get out above this level of resistance that it faced from March, and it is holding for at least a little decent amount of time above this point. This line that I got drawn in, which is key Fibonacci point. Let's take a look at this hourly. This is a mark that was not resistance, albeit it was support. And now short term, we got 2 levels of resistance right now where we're at now at 220 and then again at 236. But the trend is obviously showing signs of reversal. Ardor showing signs of it trying to change over 2. As band flattens out, resistance has been established. It hasn't came back to the band, but it is on day 3 of correcting sideways, however. Okay, cash, that's starting to possibly look to get bullish again as it's established resistance. It's came back to the band and it's got to get above that level of 2100. Status network, it's got to get a, yeah, it's looking like it wants to break higher. 18 average is barely rising. It went to key Fibonacci on April the 3rd. It came there again on April the 13th, breaking out above there. I would not be surprised if that thing just goes quick to the 2400 mark. NEM, nice little reversal too. It's already been to this major level back in March, going from 3000 to 5300. Piercing above it, even 5,600, and then having a big move back to where it came from, but it's held this level of support on a second occasion. Now it's looking to possibly make a move back in there. When you see a setup like this, after something's been down for a while, you have a very good rally, which was most certainly the case at the start of March. And then you come back like this. You kind of didn't want to come back to this area. You'd rather make the higher low. The perfect spot would have been around 3680, back at this level of previous resistance and what would have been the 18. So on March the 17th, it didn't find support there. So the scary setup, no, it didn't break below. But now that it's had another rally attempt, if it makes any sort of lower high and it's already established a high that's going to either be, well, if this hot tops now, it's going to be the high. So if this thing does not make a higher high matching higher, if it goes down, shows weakness below the 18, I would be very concerned. But to me, the whole thing seems as if the entire crypto space is looking to flip over EMC2. Let's look next at LMC. And it's been a few days of just grinding well above the 18 average of highs. But as we can see, it's still well below an area where it came from. Let's move on now to NEO against Bitcoin, which it's 18 average starting to rise. Resistance has been established as it came back to the band. I mean, close enough. Yeah, I guess that would count. So get this thing getting above the 90 handle, 90.05 area. Yeah, that thing would be breaking established resistance, which is the stage I'm looking for reversal of trend. Cloak has just been dominating this thing. Just when it back in here before the gain, this thing was just hugging the 18 average of highs for a few days. So the setup was like, okay, this thing is definitely something you want to consider being long with. And wow, how do you do? It's came back to this key level of Fibonacci. This is test number 2 of this resistance after it did such in March. Very, very important for the 18 average when correcting for it to hold. I mean, last time it didn't, had 6 major move lower, but definitely a nice, interesting pattern within such. We're seeing support at this key Fibonacci over the last day or such. When we look at this on the weekly time frame, this thing has just been chopping around back and forth. So since the gain from September the 12th up to July last year, it has successfully corrected where it came from with the resistance of 2015 and 2016. And it has just been basically going sideways in that neutral situation, getting above 274, 275-ish area. This thing is probably, well, depends on how it gets there, but the next level of resistance is another way of putting that 225-ish to 235 should be resistance too. So we'll just leave it at that for now. DGB, let's get this back to the daily time frame, but it's showing signs of it's reverting the trend as well. ZCL, well, it had its big move before, so this is in a different category. It's not going down, but it's just going sideways within its move. Dash against Bitcoin, not really showing much signs of reverting the trend, but it has had band flatten now. I don't think that's high enough for established resistance. I'd like to see it at least get up to about the 500 handle. ArtByte against Bitcoin, barely starting to look to revert the trend over. ARK going sideways, but band 18 average of lows, price action has stayed well above that. That's definitely a productive sign there. SYS has done another situation of establishing a level of resistance. It has stayed yesterday above the 18 average of highs. It looks like it's going to do such for today. We have Ripple, which for 2 days got above it. Now it's 3 days going sideways, holding the gains above, having a correction through time. Potcoin, just a beautiful, nice looking setup after 3 great green candles up and an amazing red candle correctionary move down. It's had 3 decent size moves up, but not as much volatility before. Resistance has barely been broken, but this day so far, but it's retraced back. We look at this on a 15-minute time frame, as we can see. So short term, getting above the 1770 mark, this thing could be ready for a major, full-fledged, huge move if something like that were to be the case. District 0x, it had Fibonacci support at 611, and it established a level of resistance at about 1569. That's just wild action. But since that wild move, price action has not broken down. It had a move back down the 18 average of lows at the end of March. Then it had a lower high rally, barely getting above the 18. It again came back down to the 18 average of lows, but we're seeing it just consolidating, hugging, and staying with the 18 within the 18 average of highs, which is a very bullish setup. It has been just well above the 18 average of lows. So a lot of setups showing that this thing might be ready to get going. Stratus coin, just band flattened out, just attempting to revert trend at this stage. Doji coin, it's had several nice green candles up, has gotten to a key line that I got drawn in here. And yeah, 18 average, right well above it, of course. It's consolidated well above this point that it wouldn't surprise me if this thing continues for a decent sized move, maybe up to even over 60 Satoshi. A crown coin, bands flatten out, and it's big because after this green candle update yesterday, how's the follow through going to be? And it's consolidating so far well, so that's been a good productive point for today. Let's move on next to QTOM, which is had this big gain. The big gain occurred in the middle of March, well below the 18 average. Price action destroyed the 18 average band, meaning when it's seen the 18 average of lows, it already had a good gain. It managed to get to the 18 average of highs for further gains, and then it extended even much further thereafter that. But since it came back to the band, it has just stayed there for quite some time. That with price action getting above 262, this thing could be ready for a big move. Of course, on the bearish side, 180, I'd be ready, really 181 change. I'd be very concerned that this would go lower. This is one of the very few codes that does not have a rising 18 average on the daily term time frame. Bitcoin Cash is actually declining. So therefore, it's barely declining. It's had a lot of support, and it's hugging the key level that at the 009, well, the 93 handle, we'll call it now. Ardor, it had the big move on April the 4th, and it's had several days of consolidating within this band. It stayed well above the 18 average of lows, thus it is a little bit nice for that sake there, but it's got to get above the established level of resistance at about 4,900, and it's got a lot of this gap fill. I don't know if that's a word to use, but empty space that it can hit. So definitely a lot of upside potential there. AMP, it's actually in a declining situation, but overall it's been holding this range right now of support. So let's move on to Vert coin, which newly rising 18 average. Price action has stayed well above the 18 average of lows. So with a key level already hit at the 37, this thing could be ready to get going, but definitely not as strong as some of the other coins. Monetary unit barely trying to get going. ZEC a couple days ago making a statement by getting above the 18 average of highs. It hasn't even been above the 18. Well, if you figure, since it broke down on February the 17th, it couldn't even get above the 18 average of lows. It stayed well above. Then on March the 21st, it got above the 18 average of closes. So you don't see the line, but you can pretty much tell where it would be in the area, in the middle of in the two lines. And then continuously hugging the 18 average of lows on the way down. But then on March 31st through April the 4th, it stayed within the band. Well, it's gotten above it now, so with the resistance established at about the 30 handle, getting well above that, then this thing might be ready for a good move, because these things can go up so fast when they're ready to do so. And SBD, which is Steam dollars, we can see is correcting the 18 average well. So band flattened out, resistance has been established in at the 47 handle. It has came back to this area, so breaking out above that would put this back into a bull market. And DOPE, it's having another test of this 18 average after making a move. Now it did so in March the 18th. It came up here, came back to the band up to the 18 average of highs on March the 25th. But you can see that the day after, if you see something like this, it comes to the band like it did there, then it rallies up. Quite frankly, it's okay to come back, but you would have had to have held like 830 back then. So when you see it lower than that and it's breaking below 800 on that day, there was no surprise that a few days later it was going down to 6.25. So therefore, can it get above 838 for a nice leg higher? Maybe, but it's at the stage right now of back to its correctionary move, and that's where it stands there. Next up is Monero, which a lot of these base main coins are not showing what the alternates are. It's showing the signs of breaking down a little bit. Lisk is just correcting within this 18 average. Tron, can we start looking at daily data now? Barely. So I'm just going to leave that empty for this episode. Ethereum against Bitcoin. It's been in this long downtrend, and we can see it was flat for a while. It got above the 18 average on April the 10th and has continued its uptrend ever since. Komodo is looking to revert its trend nicely, as it had a resistance established on the 43 handle. It came back to the band. Yesterday it broke this, so Komodo is now in a bull market. PivX is well, but you know what? This is almost good enough of coming back to the band, because this resistance is so massive at about the 628 handle. That breaking significantly above 640. Don't be surprised if shortly after 650 it's 820. XDN Digital Note, early signs of it possibly switching over. Redcoin, it established a level of resistance and it's came back to its band. EMC, same thing. Power, POWR, resistance has been established in at about 57, 55. It is holding the 18 average of highs magnificently and getting above that. I would not be surprised if it does decent gains. Omi's Go, this thing just went and just had a huge move up to this 230 handle, consolidating its gains a little bit, but still in an uptrend. Core is established a level of resistance here at 43 change. It has now been back to the day, hugging the 18 average of highs for the last few days, so getting above this point at around the 445 handle would be very bullish. Feathercoin, very choppy, which is very good for trading, my type of strategy, but overall it is holding this 18 average. I'm going to look at it from this move up to here, as well as this level of resistance. So getting above those key points is definitely pretty good. A lot of reason for concern that there'd be a leg lower if price action gets down to about below the 2600 handle. Litecoin against Bitcoin is obviously, well, I'm going to say obviously because I've been watching this a lot, in that of a downtrend, which is definitely underperforming against all the alternates, even more so. But it's now going back down to another test of this level. If it has another leg lower, I'll be looking at about 144 down to about 135 as its next level of support. And like all these things, when they're ready to go, back in December, huge elevator ride up. The move in February had a big move up. It's normally the case with a lot of these altcoins. That's why I prefer just buying and holding, and then short term getting any buys and sells along the way, because this way, whenever any of these coins are ready to go and I own it, then I'm just going to play its up move. Blackcoin, BLK, working towards reverting the trend by staying within this 18 average of highs for a while, staying away from the 18 of lows. Big time resistance is established at about the 37.78 handle. Ethereum Classic has a neutral sideways move after this long decline. And long term, you got this high, you got this low. Can't say for sure just by looking at this what the play is going to be. But obviously, like any of the codes, if you break a key level of support, then don't be surprised if you have a decent leg lower. Same thing with resistance. Steam, beautiful move up here. This thing is in a bull market because it broke established resistance a couple days back, and it's still holding well above the 18 average. I like how it did correct such from April the 5th through April the 11th. Looking at Poly, which is too short. Let's go on to ADT. Bands flattened, barely starting to rise a few days. Ever since this day on April the 9th, it has stayed well above the 18 average of lows. So that's like the best productive thing I can say for now. Small level of resistance at about 617. RVR, something like I stated, I'm going to be trying to liquidate out of completely soon. Salus or Salus, just a very good, choppy, moving, interesting chart that it's been showing, but still hanging in there very nicely. Verge, which is obviously in a bull market because it broke through established resistance on around the 740 handle. It is now at 1,073. It's correcting within the 18 average of highs. It has spent the last week or so after leaving this 1290 handle within the 18 average. Price action is yet to touch the 989 handle. And yeah, so downtrend very short term, because if we take a look at this on a single hour time frame, I guess even it's not that bad of a downtrend, but it's mainly sideways correction with the bias down since the top. But again, because of the 18 average rising, making a pattern of higher highs and higher lows, this is still in that of a bull market. Zen, it's in a bull market. Technically speaking, it never did come back to the band, but this is 2 days after the big green candle up on April the 2nd, where it was close enough. And I mean, really, by like this point here in 330, you had to give it the benefit of the doubt that it was in a indefinite bull market. But I like how this correction area moved from April the 7th through April 11th or 12th even. Price action stayed around this 36 handle mark, but then has just been moving higher ever since. So nice little situation there. I've already looked at Nexus on the intro of this video, as well as library credits. This is the final one, and thank you for tuning in. I showed my entire crypto chart on my with the list I have on TradingView. Have yourself a great Sunday. Bye-bye.